But I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, they amuse you?
Oh, it's good to be back.
I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy.
Yeah, maybe after 9/11, where everybody got so sensitive. Thanks a lot, Bin Laden.
Hello, you don't know? It means all those fuckers know.
I'm as tired as hell, but I'm not going to take this anymore.
You can't handle the truth.
I got my show back. It's been so long. The chair stinks. They made this place a mess, but I actually got it back. Koho, Boatman, Kirk, thanks for filling in, giving me a 3-week sabbatical. It was great. But now I'm back to judge people, and I'm going to judge very harshly tonight. Basically, so we have 2 episodes until our top 40 comic book scenes, which I think is going. I've seen the list. I'm telling you, if you thought top 100 was rough, oh, some of these scenes, I don't know if they know what comic book movies are or even good ones, but it's going to be highly contested. I'm here for 2010 scenes that are not comic book related. It's an entire decade of just fantastic movies. This was one of the most sought after lists, and surprisingly, almost everybody submitted a day late. Everyone messaged me on Thursday and said, "Hey, can I still send you your list?" Well, since I just have Scott Harvey, sure. And then they all flooded in, and then Koho had to make the final decision. So it's going to be a rough night. We're all going to get through this. We have some newcomers. We have some people that haven't been on a while, and we have pretty much my second host. So we're going to kick it to Doug. Doug, how do you feel like you're going to do tonight?
I hope I do all right. I mean, I think I picked really great scenes, and I'm hoping that everybody agrees, but you never know with this show. But I'm prepared to be berated, so it's okay.
Yeah, some people think they'll do well on the show, and then they come on the show, and then they realize, wow, Cody really hates certain things. Next, we got Scott, or as I like to call Paul Oyama Jr. Basically, they have similar movie taste, and they both think I'm wrong in a lot of situations. Oh, look who just popped in the chat. That wasn't rehearsed, I promise. Yeah, see, I told you guys are in for it tonight because he was not happy to not be selected. Scott, how do you feel like you're going to do tonight, and how many movies did you pick that no one ever saw besides you in an indie theater just because you enjoy those movies so much more?
Hey, I actually think I have a couple of years on Paul, so maybe if anything, he is Scott Harvey Jr., but no, I haven't won any championships, so I think I will claim the title of junior happily. But no, I don't think I'm going to do very well, to be honest. I've actually won the last 2 episodes that I've been on, but of course you are not the host of either of those, Cody. And now that you're back, I mean, I do think I have some stuff that you'll enjoy, but there's a couple that I'm definitely worried about. But no movies I think that no one has seen here. Like I think all of the movies, at least one person will have seen them. So.
Well, that's great. What was the other one? Paul hosted A24. What was the other one?
I was on the Summer Songs when that Brooklyn did.
That was definitely not me. Cool. Next, we got Kirk. Kirk is the second host of the show.
Sorry about the chair.
It's fine.
I thought I got that out.
A lot of bleach. I actually had to throw it away, to be honest with you. But how do you think you're going to do tonight? Because you're normally correct in your opinion, just like I am. But
yeah.
How do you feel like you're going to do?
I don't know. I mean, I'm excited to be on with Amaru and with Scott. I've never been on with them. Doug only once. So, I mean, there's a lot of tape on these guys. So I think I got a pretty good list, but we'll see how they do.
Yeah, it's crazy. Me and Kirk both share the chair, and we both have we share a lot of opinions, but then we do vastly different at times. It's really weird. And then Amaru, first time caller, long time watcher, hopefully. How are you doing tonight? Do you feel like normally first time people that come on the show do really well. Like first time they actually do well. Do you think you're going to do that? You're going to have newbie luck, or are you going to finish dead last?
Truthfully, I came on here not really knowing that there was a well. I did, but I felt like no matter where I'm at, my list is great. All I know is there will be plenty of communication at an all-time high. Loving it. So I'm ready to go.
That is 100% fair. I can't wait for Kirk to talk about Dick.
I don't know. What that
Okay,
means.
well, again, I've said this before. I'll say it again. If Kirk rates anything 2.5 stars or above, that's Hall of Fame level. So be thankful for that. Around to what? Okay. Okay, so we're going to kick it off. Everybody, how the show works, if you haven't seen it before, basically everybody brings in a top 10 list. I don't bring in one personally. All I bring in is my opinion, and my opinion is always correct. Nothing will ever change. You'll start with your 10 through 8, then you'll go 7 through 4, and then we'll trade up at the top 3s, 2s, and 1s. I give an overall grade at the end, like this is school, and tell you if you're going to make it to the next grade or not. And Amaro, just to let you know, I think the only person that has ever failed after numerous attempts is Spence. Spence is the only person that has ever failed on the first show and has continued to fail. So you don't have you can beat that mark, I promise you. Doug, take it away with your 10 through 8.
All right. So my 10 is the film It Chapter 1. Cool. Georgie's death scene. I think it's
Excuse you. That's not how the show works. You go 10, 9, 8, and then you go back and talk.
And then okay.
Andrew, are you here? Tell them how the show works. Okay, go ahead.
Then my 9 is Waves. That's the Emily and Ronald's talk. And then my 8 is Jojo Rabbit. And that's the shoe scene.
Okay, take it away.
So Georgie's death, keeping this short, it's probably one of the best openings to a movie in 2017 of horror. I think it's probably it hits you really hard as soon as you see that scene. It's super eerie. It's super crazy. You don't see it coming at first. Like, even if you read the book, you're like, all right, how is this going to happen? How is he going to scare him? I think it's great. Going to Waves, Emily and Ronald's talk, I think it's a fantastic scene. I think this is probably one of the most human scenes in this movie. The communication between the two of them to finally forgive is a big hard-hitting scene. This movie is incredible. Not too many people talk about Waves, and I think this movie it should have been nominated. And then Jojo Rabbit, the shoe scene. I've never cried so hard at a pair of shoes in my life, ever. And it's just it perfectly embodies how emotional a scene, kind of like how emotional a scene can be from without saying any words. You see him look up, and it's his mom, but they don't have to show you her hanging there, and you already know what happens. I think it's a truly powerful scene.
Okay. So we'll go through this. 10 is, what was it again? George's death. So I don't like horror. I actually hate horror. Everybody look at Kirk. He's moving around. It's funny. I honestly think this scene is bad. And I'll tell you why. I think the CGI doesn't look great with Pennywise when his mouth gets all. I don't like that scene. Again, it is the one thing that scared the shit out of me when I was little, because I would basically I'd walk in the center of the street because I was afraid of storm drains after watching Tim Curry's It. It never appealed to me. I had no interest in it. I think it's over CGI mess most of the movie, so probably not even close. But I'm not a horror fan, so we'll give a little bit of a break for that one. Your 9. I have been told numerous times that Waves is not a Cody movie. It's just not. I'm going to stay the hell away from it to help you and help Koho and to help everybody, because if I watch it, then it's not going to end well. 8, it's like The Lighthouse. That was a mess. Paul told me I never should have done it. I did it. Okay, 8 is Jojo Rabbit shooting. I wouldn't say an oof. I don't think it's an oof. Paul hates this movie, and that's whatever. This is the movie that's the part that made the tonal switch, pure comedy, basically, to, oh shit, this has more stakes than I thought. and it took me by surprise. I like the scene a lot, but I don't know if it's best scene, but it's one that still plays in my head, so that's really cool. Also, I do also love, just to let everybody know, I love the 10 through 8s because even if somebody has like harsh opinions, they don't get to talk about it. It's just me. It's fun to watch people's eyes. Now we're going to go to Scott. Scott, what's your 10 through 8?
Sure. My number 10 movie is Everybody Wants Some, the baseball practice scene. My number 9 is Spotlight. And my number 8 is Mission Impossible Fallout. All right, so my 10, Everybody Wants Some. I love this movie. It's one of my favorites. I've talked before about it, but this was like a big movie for me and my friends in college. We watched it all the time. We quoted all the lines to each other, blah, blah, blah. But I wanted to have a comedic scene in here too, and I think this definitely has some great comedy. The Jay Niles character is hilarious when he picks up the baseball, throws it out of the stadium. That kills me every time. But I also love the way that Linklater waits so long into the movie before he actually gives us these characters playing baseball, even though we know that's what they do. We know it's like an essential aspect of their character, but he lets us learn who all the characters are, learn what they're about before we ever get to this scene. And so I enjoy that aspect of it. Number 9, Spotlight. Yeah, this movie to me is another one of my favorites because it looks like an Oscar bait movie on paper, but the execution of it is very understated, very not showy or ostentatious, except this one scene is like the one scene where they allow anyone to have emotion. Like when Mark Ruffalo gives the "they knew" line, like it's like the one time anybody raises their voice in the whole movie, honestly, which I think is great because it's the moment where this movie crosses over from being like about journalists, like just trying to cover a story, to people trying to save other people from being harmed. And so it makes sense that like this is the moment where he finally expresses how I think all of them are feeling and how we are feeling as the audience. So it's a very powerful scene in a very powerful movie. And then Mission Impossible Fallout. This is one of my favorite franchises running right now. I think all the movies are solid. Even 2. I mean, it's the worst one, but it's still fine. But the rest of them are some of the best action movies like to come out in the last 30 years. And there are a lot of scenes you could have gone with, you know, Burj Khalifa scene, the Opera House scene from Rogue Nation. I chose this one just because it's just one thing after the other. It's the helicopter flying. It's the helicopter crash. They crash the helicopter. They're on the side of the mountain. There's the detonator. They're hanging on the side of the mountain. And like there's so many things going on at once that it really does seem like an impossible mission. At this point that Tom Cruise is going to be able to save himself, defuse the bomb, do everything. And then there's some stuff going on with Ilsa and Benji that's also really good at this part of the movie. And of course he does it, but it's really fun to watch how he does it. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I get you. All right. Everybody wants some. I'm really glad you put this at the end so no one can talk about it. I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. I like Dazed and Confused a lot, but this is my ultimate one. Paul made me watch it. I agree with Paul 100%, though. I think Rapper's Delight is a better part of that movie. I love that scene a lot, but I don't hate either because I'm a huge baseball fan, so the baseball scene is also great. I think this movie is incredible. Yeah, great choice. Spotlight. This is one of those reactions that I was not mad when it won Best Picture. Did I think it was the best picture that year? No, but I definitely enjoyed this movie a lot. I don't think this movie gets enough credit for what it does in these performances. I think it's it's written super well. I think it's a great scene. I don't know if it'd be top for me, but I don't hate that it's on there because I understand why. And you're doing quite well tonight. 8, Mission Impossible Fallout. I love Fallout. I think I'm 100% with you. I think Mission Impossible is, just a side note, if you didn't watch the announcement, it's in Fandom next season, so get ready, folks. It is Mission Impossible time. So that's exciting for me. I have grown to love the spy franchises a lot more since my walk through Bond. And I just think this is, I think Fallout is amazing. The final scene. I think maybe I lean a little bit towards the Henry Cavill, like that fight scene, because that's just so sweet. But you're 100% right. This is it's like what an ending of a Fast and the Furious movie would be, but done well. so it's actually like it actually looks like an actual fight, like a scene that's happening. So I enjoy this a lot. A really surprised choice, by the way, for you. I didn't think that would show up. So well done.
I like
Now
good
the
action movies.
There you go. And now the person with the correct opinion, apparently, Kirk. What is your 10 through 8?
As always. My number 10 comes from Hell or High Water.
Okay.
And it's the final scene in Hell or High Water. I think we should probably just say spoilers for the entire episode.
You know, if you haven't seen these movies, try to check out and then come back in. Like, it's the best we can do.
Yeah. My number 9 is from Les Mis. And it's I Dreamed a Dream. And my number 8 is from Hereditary. And it's Charlie's Death Scene.
Good choice.
Okay. Hell or High Water. I love this movie. It was in my top 100. This scene is so great. I just love the dynamic between these two characters. When they are, they come together. I just love the whole cat and mouse of the whole movie. That whole idea of two people on completely opposite ends of their goals, but you still root for both of them. I love when they come together. Just that opening scene where he's like, "I'm the man that killed your brother." That's such like a classic Western setup for the scene, and just them getting together and like that idea of them knowing what they did and understanding like they're the only two people that they hate each other, but also they're kind of like friends by default because no one else understands what they went through. And then there's that moment where they're about to draw down on each other where he says, let's see if you can draw that gun before I blast you off this porch. And it just tense, and then that car pulls up. So you're left with that ambiguity of, would they or would they have? And then again, they just kind of leave, and it's like, if you want to finish this later, and it's like maybe they'll kill each other or maybe they'll become best friends. And I just love that dynamic. I love that relationship between these two characters. So I just really love that scene. And I think it's a great wrap up to a great movie. My number 9, say what you want about Les Mis and the rest of the movie. This scene is fantastic. Anne Hathaway, I'm usually completely underwhelmed by anything she does, but she kills it in this scene. I've seen this performed live a couple times. I've listened to the original cast recordings. I've never heard the song done this well. The movie changes the order and puts this song in a much better place where it has that more impact. And just the choice to shoot that is just one continuous close-up and have her sing and just all that emotion, all that acting that comes out of that. Just so as much as she conveys, just a devastating scene. And again, the rest of the movie might be great. She, one scene, and they gave her a Oscar for it, and I'm completely fine with that. And my number 8 is Hereditary, Charlie's Death Scene. So much about this scene, just the fact that they would kill if not your protagonist, that what seems so far to be the central focus of the movie, that they'd kill a child like that. Just such a shock. And when it happens, Alex Wolff is so great in this, how it just sticks on him, and you just have to deal with it. Telling you this movie does not care about you or your feelings, and it's a movie. It just makes you feel sick the whole way through. And it starts at this moment, and it's such a great scene in the way it's acted. So yeah, it's one of my favorite horror scenes of the decade.
Okay, Hell or High Water was my favorite movie of that year. I love this movie. I think it's incredible. I probably would have picked Only Assholes Drink Mr. Pibb. No, I'm just kidding. That's still my favorite line from that movie. I think this scene, I think the final scene is great. It's just, are we talking about the final shootout scene? That's where I'm confused.
No, the final scene on the porch. Yeah,
the porch. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, yeah. I think it's incredible. I think it's the amount of people, like, I remember talking with people that are not like huge Western fans or huge like that kind of movie, and love this movie. I think Ben Foster gives an amazing performance in this film, but that porch scene is something that I've, like, when you sent the list, I was hoping that was the scene, and I played it just numerous times over and over. I think it's just incredible, just that's just chilling, just that kind of just how it leaves you. I think it's great. 10 is fine. This next one. Okay. So I don't want to spoil anything. I try not to. This is my favorite musical of all time. It's not even close. It is with a bullet. It's Les Mis, and I've been disappointed in my life numerous times. Christmas when I was 5, didn't get the bicycle I wanted. Didn't get the class girl denied a date for me, all that stuff. Les Mis is one of the biggest disappointments my life has ever given me. Okay, Do I think this performance is fine? Yes, I think it's fine in the overall. I think there are better stage production performances of I Dreamed a Dream. I think it's insane. Does she deserve the Oscar? Maybe of that year, sure. I don't know, but like, I think this movie is just awful. If I'm going to be honest, I don't care that they sang live. Let me be honest with you. I remember that's the whole talk. They sang live. Well, fucking congratulations. Everybody in Broadway does it every fucking day. You didn't even do it in front of an audience. I think she gives in a performance. I don't even care because because I've already heard fucking Russell Crowe sing, and that fucking took me out of this movie in a heartbeat. I think that is one of the worst travesties in musical history. But whatever. It's 9. I'm not going to fucking kill you for it. And Hereditary. I'm going to give you a real quick. This is going to be really short. Kirk, do you think I've seen this movie?
No.
All right, Amaru. Let's see what your 10 through 8 is. No, I haven't. Because I heard that I'm not going to like it. Like, basically is what's going to happen. Like, I'm the only one in this community right now that has a walking, like, Cody, stop. Don't go see this movie because I don't want to hear your negative opinions because you're going to hate it. And so I stopped watching them. Mara, what's your 10 through 9?
So my 10 is from Inception, the spinning hallway scene for Inception. My number 9 is from Parasite.
Yikes.
All right. I had Mulan Return, but that's for Parasite. And then number 8 is from Sorry to Bother You. And I have the compliment battle from Sorry to Bother You. All right. So number 10, spinning hallway. Inception, everybody knows it's my favorite movie of all time. There we go. It's my favorite movie of all time. I love this film. Spinning hallway kind of just encapsulates everything about it. You're trying to figure out how the dream structure works, and they do it in a great action scene. How Yusuf is driving the car and how the gravity affects it, and everybody in the Snow Palace is now waiting on the timing to make sure everything works. And just watching Joseph Gordon-Levitt in an action scene. The fact that he's practical doing the spinning hallway is amazing, but it's just one of the most tense and exciting moments of the entire movie. And it's smack dead in the middle of it. And I love it. I love the action that comes along with it. I love the mind bending that comes along with it. So, yeah, the spinning hallway is my number 10. Number 9, Parasite. We'll talk about that. Number 8, Sorry to Bother You, the compliment battle. So this scene reminds me a lot of my favorite scene in 40-Year-Old Virgin between Romany Marco and Kevin Hart, where you can tell that they are improvising the hell out of that scene. And this is just one of the best improv scenes I have ever seen. You think that Lakeith Stanfield and I forgot Jamie Fowler Jr., I think his name, are about to go at each other, and then they just start going above and beyond. Compliment after compliment. You smell good. Yeah, I hope your week is great. I hope your whole month is fantastic. And it just keeps building and building and building. You can see they're trying to one-up each other on the fly, and it just gets better and better and better. And it is one of the most hilarious, most memorable scenes I can think of the entire decade. With the 40-Year-Old Virgin scene, one of my favorite comedic scenes. Jermaine Fowler, thank you, Oyama, ever. So I love that battle. I love how they flip that on his head. Absolutely hilarious.
Okay, so 10. So peek behind the curtain. I saw Inception for the first time this year. And I've seen it twice now. Once at home, once on the big screen. And I'm so pissed off at myself that I waited till 2020 to watch this effing movie. I think this movie's incredible. I can see this movie climbing every time I watch it. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. You could have picked 12 scenes from this movie, and I would have said, okay, you picked the right one. That's fine. I have no issue. I honestly don't. I think watching the theater and after knowing everything and every twist and turn, that movie flies by. And that spinning hallway scene, I think, is so cool. And and I heard for a long time that it's just the theatrics. It's like everything that plays along with it, and that's couldn't be farther from the truth. I think this is just the theatrics of the thing plus the performances inside of it makes it incredible. So yeah, 10. A little upset that might be 10, but whatever. And your 8 is I have not seen this movie yet. I've lost on a trivia question to this movie. I haven't seen it yet, but I know this scene because I've seen this scene numerous times, and I love this scene. Me and my coworker do it at work numerous times, just in a different way. I'm like, I hope you make a lot of sales today. I hope you get a promotion. Well, I hope you get raised. So then you just go back and forth. It's so much fun, and you can. I'm with you 100% because you brought up a great moment when you said it reminds you of the 40-year virgin. It's exactly what I thought when I saw it the first time. I was like, that is literally, and you can just see both actors in this movie are having so much fun doing it. And I don't know how many takes it took or whatever, or how many. It seems like all thrown together, but it looks like you could have done that 7 different ways and had 7 different results. It's a lot of fun. I'm excited to see the movie. I just haven't seen it yet. So yeah, I have no issue with it. I just don't know how it plays into the whole overall film right now. Thanks to watching fucking Fandom movies. All right, now we're in for it. The gloves are coming off. Everybody gets to fight. Kirk's cracking knuckles. He's ready to yell. All right, Doug. What's 7?
My 7 comes from the movie Marriage Story. The fight. It's an intense fight, and it's real. It's what you really want to say to a person that you absolutely can't stand. I hope if it didn't affect our son, I hope you fucking die. And then he punches a fucking wall. And it gets intense, and you're sitting in this, and you're just sitting in it because it's really how people, if they could communicate without any actual consequences, would actually communicate. Let's be honest. If you hated someone and they're sitting there, yeah, I think it's an incredible scene. I don't think it's the wrong scene, Paul. I think it's the right scene.
He'll tell you why you're wrong in a second. Okay. No, like, so. One of the directors that I didn't think I'd watch multiple films from this year. I watched multiple films from this year of him. I prefer. So I didn't know, and people hate when I say this, but I didn't know that he made Marriage Story before he made Marriage Story. He made a movie called The Squid and the Whale, and that is Marriage Story before Marriage Story. Just gonna throw it out there. Say what you want. It is. But I really do love this performance. I was not in love with this movie like a lot of people, but as a person that has went through divorce in a home, it felt so real. Like they seemed like at their end of the ropes. I mean, they probably needed to teach Adam Driver how to punch a little like a different, but he didn't punch that well. But the overall scene is just like great to me because it's honestly he's at the end of the rope and he's like, and you're fucking winning. And it's like that entire, like you see that emotion. I don't know if it's the best scene from Marriage Story. I don't know if I'd put it in there because how we like to say in this community, it needs to marinate a little bit. It needs to be there a little bit longer for me to actually say, is it the best? It's a year removed. Isn't that good? But I think it's honestly good because I saw that play fucking ever on Facebook as one of the clips of the script underneath it for months after this movie. Like, I don't like cool, but I think the overall movie is really good. I don't know if it's the best scene, but I can't fault you. Everybody else didn't have Marriage Story, didn't have one scene from Marriage Story. So did Doug pick the correct scene, and why didn't you have Marriage Story?
Correct scene.
Good, Rue.
Correct scene. I've seen this movie once, and the more I think about it, the more I cannot stand it. I did not find anything extraordinary about any of the performances outside of this scene. Or I thought I was like, her performance in Jojo Rabbit was miles ahead of her performance here. I've been through a divorce, and I just am like, this just seemed like nothing out of the ordinary for me. But the fight itself, that was brilliant. So I'm glad you picked that scene. But outside of that, that movie annoys me.
Yeah, I agree. It's the right scene. It was on my short list. I think it's really good. And yeah, having, experienced that in the home too, that situation where people are just hate each other now and just have all that baggage and all that, like you're never going to be able to get away from each other. And just him coming to that realization. And he lost. He can't beat her, and he can't do anything about it. And just that desperation and that all pouring out of him is so good. The being alive scene is fine, but it doesn't hold a candle to this.
Yeah, I think I would have actually chosen the opening scene. Maybe I mean I like the scene, but where you're hearing the letters and it's like, oh, this is really nice, like what I love about, and then it like cuts away and they're in the like counselor's office and you're just like, oof, like that's just a gut punch right from the beginning. So I really like that scene. But this movie's great. I love Noah Baumbach. Almost had a scene for Francis Ha on my list. And I hate this scene got memed to death because it is really powerful in the context of the movie. And yeah, it's good.
I will say, I think Adam Driver in that scene at the end, I really like that because even when everything's going, he still finds some joy. All right, what's your 6?
My 6 comes from Creed.
Yikes.
Cool.
Kinda yikes, I guess.
Okay. We can just hold it. Is yours is beyond the 4?
Mine is actually at 7.
Mine, yeah, mine's
a 6.
6. Okay, let's just talk about it now, just to avoid all the waiting all the way to the end. So, what scene did Doug pick?
I picked the not how hard you get hit. It's you can back up and fighting. So, scene.
Mamoru?
I picked Adonis running through Philly to wake up Rocky.
And Kirk?
I picked Johnson versus Spurino. It's a long take fight.
Okay, 3 interesting choices. I like this. Okay, so Doug will start. We'll go to Amara. We'll finish with Kirk. Okay, go ahead.
I think this scene embodies what everything about the franchise is. It's not about how hard you get hit. It's about how it's about how you get up and keep fighting. I think this scene is pivotal to the movie because this is the scene where you kind of like, I think it hits Rocky to kind of like keep fighting. He's got something to fight for. Just like Creed has something to fight for. Adonis has something to fight for. I think it's super powerful. The words hit hard. No matter where you're at in your life, I think the words kind of hit hard. You could be a freshman in high school starting your first day and you hit it. You listen. You could be a brand new father. You're hit with something. Keep going. You could be 65 years old and lost somebody you love and care about. You get hard and you keep on moving. I think it's a powerful scene, and I think it's a great scene in the movie.
Amara?
So the Adonis running with the motorcycles to go wake up Rocky, I think that scene is the scene that solidifies that this is the perfect next step in the Rocky franchise because it pays homage, but it also is its own thing. It is. I just recently realized it's very reminiscent of Rocky running up the stairs. But it's Creed doing his thing because you got Meek Mill going off in the background. You got the motorcycles running with him, so it's Philly to the core. But then Ludwig brings interrupts Meek Mill's rapping to bring in the chorus and his score in it, and it's just as invigorating and as hard. And then you realize he's running and having everybody with him just to wake up Rocky and give homage to Rocky. And it's that perfect middle point where you're like, wow, if you don't feel inspired by that alone, with Michael B. Jordan's performance of just how hyped he is with Meek Mill rapping, then the score and the motorcycles finishing with Rocky, I think it's the most inspiring scene in the entire movie.
Kirk?
Yeah, both great scenes, but I went with Creed or Johnson versus Spurino, the one take fight. Because, hey, after 7 movies, the Rocky movies finally figured out what real boxing looks like. I was just rewatching this today, and early on in the fight, there's a shot where Leo throws a punch, and Creed throws a hand up, and the crowd goes, ooh. And I think it was on purpose because that's the first time in the Rocky franchise somebody actually blocked a shot to the head or made an attempt to. So, yeah, this is definitely the best fight scene, I think, in a Rocky. I think, honestly, this is the best shot boxing scene I've ever seen. I mean, they're in the ring. It starts out with them, touching gloves. It goes around. It's the camera's circling around. It goes back to their corners. You get Rocky's take it. It swings down to him, swings back up. It's just such a beautifully shot scene. And just reading about some of the tricks they did to do it, really, legitimately all in one take. It's just so well. It's just such a well-made scene, and it's such a great fight for the Rocky franchise.
Okay. So I just have to clear the air here, and I don't mean to call anybody out live on air. I believe that Doug's scene is in Balboa, not in Creed. He says that quote from Balboa, it's no shot at you. He may quote it or may say something similar, but I don't. He's standing outside the restaurant talking to his son when that scene happens. But again, it is what it is. If that happened, you may lose a letter grade, but it's no big deal. Your next Amaro scene, I like that scene a lot. I really do. But get together.
Spoiler.
It's coming. But if I had to go with one, I have to go with the Scorino versus because there are scenes. There are scenes from Creed 1 and Creed 2 are the best Rocky movies. You can at me wherever you want. They are the best because Adonis is a more compelling story than the Italian Stallion will ever be. Just it is. And they're better shot and everything. To quote Doug's thing, it doesn't matter how hard you get. If he blocked a fucking shot, it does matter how hard he is because Drago broke shit inside him because he just sits there and just gets beat the shit out of. You're right. It's the first one that actually shows boxing in the correct way, and it's so insane. I remember when I sat there in the theater in November watching this movie, being so excited that a new Rocky movie was out in the form of Creed's son. And to see that boxing scene for the first time, I thought I was sitting front row at a boxing match, losing my ever-loving mind. I was so happy. This franchise ranks so high in my besides the campy bullshit that happens inside these movies. They're a lot of fun. I will always have a special spot. But Creed, this first one, is something so special. Scott, you didn't have any Creed. Why do you picked the Mission Impossible? You just don't like boxing? What's up?
No, well, I think somebody should have picked the scene that Andrew Barr is in, right? I think that was a mistake on everyone's part, but no, I'm kidding. I love this movie. I really do, and I actually like Creed 2 a little bit more. I think they're both fantastic, but I don't know, Creed 2 just hit me a little bit more. But yeah, no, all of these scenes are great. Look, there are so many scenes you could pick from this decade. These movies kind of slipped my mind a little bit. But that doesn't mean they're not fantastic. I love them.
Okay, and to pause to Paul, if you can find it, if they're said in both, but the first time it's ever said is in Balboa, so it's basically a recycle from Balboa. That's all I'm going to say. I could not find the clip. I think he says something about keep moving forward. I think he says, if you're going to fight, I'm going to fight too, because it's the whole, like, that whole kid. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't believe that quote is fully said. But I may be wrong. Who knows?
There's a lot of repetitious speeches in Rocky movies.
That's true. And also Balboa.
It could have been something Mickey said in Rocky 2 for all we know.
And Mickey's a terrible coach because if he could have just said hands up, totally different fucking fight. All right, Doug, what's your next one?
All right, this one I know is in the movie. It comes from Social Network.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's my 5, so.
Is it higher up for you, Amaro, past the 4?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so we're good. What's your next one?
My 4 is a part of Django Unchained.
Yikes. And I have it higher.
Okay. I'm shocked. All right, Scott. Take us through a journey that probably won't be a lot of yikes.
Yeah, okay. My number 7 is 1917. Yeah, and I chose the flares at night scene for this. This is the scene where you have like the one obvious cut in the movie where he falls down the stairs, he wakes up and it's nighttime, and he crawls up over the stairs and looks out the window, and like that first shot right there is just incredible, of like the ruins with the explosions and the flares going off in the distance. And I know we're not supposed to talk about camera panning, but then it like immediately pans down to him as he exits the building, which is just like a great transition shot. But then there's the whole, he gets chased through the ruins, the burning church scene where you see the guy approaching from the distance. And you don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy, and then he starts shooting. But I absolutely loved this movie, like not just as a technical exercise, but I think that intimate story on the grand scale really worked for me. And I know it doesn't work for everyone, but this movie is fantastic. And there are several scenes to respond to Lucas. Yeah, I mean that's one of those scenes I feel like you're going to see for years because it's going to be timeless. The final run, but I don't know, just the beauty, the visual beauty of this scene just stood out to me a little bit more. But love the movie, love the scene.
What? I'm getting breathing into a mic. Breathing into a mic. Stop it. Okay. Probably Kirk. Anyways, so okay, how mad do I want to make Lucas Sherlock? Okay. So I will say, this movie, I haven't seen this movie since, okay? So I saw it once. And all I did was pay attention to all the technical stuff. I don't really care about the story. Like, oh shit, when's the camera gonna cut? When's the fucking camera? It's gotta cut soon. I was checking out of everything. I think I need to rewatch it. I will. The Flares at Night one kind of annoyed me because it was so dark I couldn't really see what was happening. Maybe the shitty theater I have in my town, but that's what happened. But I would have picked the final run because I've said when we are sitting there in 2070 and they say they play back from the past, 70 years, that run scene will still probably be in those clips because I think it's insane. But I honestly respect you because I think that's the obvious choice. And you're not the only person that said Flares at Night. That's such a cool scene. It just wasn't for me. But I will rewatch it. I think it's good. I just didn't fall in love with the characters, so it was rough for me. No one else had 1917, which when I looked at these lists originally, I was like, no one had 1970. That's a really weird choice. But Scott comes through. Why do you guys hate, when we're talking about scenes, these are technically perfection on screen. Why don't you have it?
I honestly, there are a lot of movies that I felt like deserve to be represented on this list, but I couldn't find that one scene that jumped out at me, and that was this movie. Definitely filled out because it's technically just one scene, so it was hard for me to cut it and say, okay, this is. I know not for real, Cody, but
I know, but you got a point.
Yeah, so it was hard for me to cut out and say, okay, this is going to be the section of the movie because I mean it's all just happening. But no, I like this. I like the running scene, a lot of cool stuff in it. So I mean, it's a very solid pick.
No, I enjoyed this movie when I first saw it. I think this is the one where he's running right after the baby scene, right?
It's before that, yeah.
It's before the baby scene. I don't know. I had the same kind of issue with Kirk, Kirk had. But I also think maybe the end run would have been great too, to put on the list. But you'll notice with a lot of my scenes are kind of character scenes or things to do with the character. But no, great scene.
Or Balboa.
Or Balboa. Yeah, but it's okay.
For me, this exact scene was on my original top 10. I had the same difficulty though. I was like, should I just put 1917 and just say the movie because it's one scene? And when I finally got down to it, it was between the running scene and Flares at Night, and I had Flares at Night, and then I remembered a couple other movies in the decade. I was like, damn, I'm gonna have to bring this down. But this 1917 became my second favorite movie of that year once I saw it. Yeah.
So what we're saying is I should disqualify Scott and just let him lose automatically because he technically just picked a movie. All right, what's your sixth?
Okay, this is where it's going to start to get ugly. My number 6 movie is Interstellar. And I chose the videos from home scene. I watched this movie for the first time this year. Actually, this is the one Nolan that I hadn't seen. And I should say, I'm not one of these people who thinks that the ground on which Christopher Nolan walks is holy ground. I like a lot of his movies, but I think I do have some problems with him as a filmmaker from time to time. One major one being that his movies often lack heart sometimes, and that I'm just left a little cold at the end of some of his movies. But that is not the case with Interstellar, and that is why it is actually my favorite of it. It has become my favorite of his films because I think it is the perfect balance of like the intellectual, complex, technically amazing filmmaking that you can find in most all of Nolan's films, with like the heart that has been missing in some of his other, maybe some of his earlier works. I think starting in this decade, he really got a lot of stuff right in that area. But yeah, I mean, look, it's a great choice too. But this scene to me is like just absolutely floored me, because you never expect to see something like this in a Nolan movie, where he's watching the videos, right? We've had the setup that he's been on the ground for like 2 hours and 23 years have passed, and he's missed his children growing up. And first of all, that's just like an incredible thing to think about, because that's not something you see portrayed a lot. It's just like, I don't even know how you would emotionally react to that if, you're in a matter of minutes, right? Like, you have lost your father, you have actually lost a grandson, and your children have grown up, and you haven't been there for any of it, despite your promises. And I think Matthew McConaughey's acting is just amazing in this scene, without saying a single word, right? Like, and his facial acting, his body language is like, this isn't someone acting emotion. Like, this is someone performing. This is like someone who, I don't know what kind of dark place he had to go to get here, but you really get the sense that he is feeling exactly what this character is supposed to be feeling in the moment. And this movie is emotionally overwhelming to me at times, and this is one of those scenes where it really hits home. And I get some of the people's faults with the movie, but I am willing to suspend my disbelief because I think this movie is so unique within Nolan's filmography, and it's just one that I connect with more.
Did you have Inception on your list?
Did I? No. I really like the movie, but
well, fair. You picked a shitty fucking Nolan movie, I'll be honest with you. I hate this movie. I'm sorry, I do. Lack heart. You're right. Lack sound mixing or sound editing or whatever the hell it is that you can't hear the fuckers talk because. Whoa! And I thought Inception does it. This movie takes it to a 10th degree. I worked at the theater when it came out, and people say, "Can you turn down the sound?" I was like, "No, that's how Nolan wants it." Fuck Christopher Nolan. I'm sorry. Take it up with him. I don't like this movie. I think this movie is boring. I think it is long. I think it is drawn out. I don't like the whole. I just don't like it. I think both of them are good. I think there's great acting performances in it, but like, there's great acting performance in shitty movies all the time. It doesn't make me want to go back and watch it. I'm sorry. Especially when Inception came out in the same decade. That was a correct choice. Or also Batman. Well, we're not going to go there either. Okay. I can fly around a plane and do nothing for the entire movie too. Okay. What does everybody else think about Interstellar? No one else had it. So you're in a. The sad thing is, like, I have so many good friends in this community, and then I look at their letterbox and see 4.5 and 5 stars on this movie, and it just makes me sad, and I don't know what I missed.
I'm sorry.
All right, what's up?
I just don't like this movie. I think you picked the correct scene if you're going to pick this movie, because the scene has it is like, it's heart-wrenching when you watch the scene, but overall the movie just doesn't work for me. I get really bored at this movie.
I like the movie. I really like the movie, but I also really like Nolan. And I love the scene. I considered it, but decided no. But I like your choice, Scott. So there we go.
This scene's just been memed to death, and just this and all the Murph stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons why Nolan doesn't have a lot of heart in his movies, because he's not very good at it. Like his character, like, I don't think he cares about his characters. Like, it's not like, I mean, you look at Dunkirk, it doesn't matter at all. But I think he's just trying to impress you so much with his filmmaking and his skill that character and story and stuff like that comes second. So, I mean, yeah, this is, I guess, as it stands on its own, it's an emotional scene. It's a well-made scene, but there's just so much baggage around at this point.
Okay, I'm going to do this again, Paul. You're right. Thank you for telling me what this is. Best scenes, not best movies. You are 100% correct on that. But when you're halfway fucking asleep, when the scene comes up, you don't give a shit about the scene anymore because you don't connect with the characters inside the movie. Yeah. Okay. What's your next one?
But Inception doesn't have moi in it. But anyway.
I said I thought it did it. I thought it does too much. Then I watched Interstellar. I feel like he just left it playing while he was recording and doesn't understand. Go ahead.
My number 5, I think it's still going to be Yikes, but Social Network is my 5.
Yeah, Yikes.
Yeah, opening scene is what I picked. But and then my 4 is a Yikes from earlier, Parasite, and I chose the cooking Ramadan sequence. Yeah, so this sequence is like, of course, when they find out that the Kims are coming back, or the Parks are coming back rather, and they have to. Mrs. Kim has to prepare the Ramadan in 7 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever it is, and they have to clean up the whole house from everything that's been going on. And it's like this whole movie to me is like. It's like a Swiss watch, how meticulous everything is like crafted. And you can just tell that every single like shot is just so precise. And this sequence in particular, this montage, the music, the where it cuts and everything, like it's so precise. And it's just great filmmaking by Bong, obviously. But also I think this is a turning point in the movie, right? Where we have this whole upstairs, downstairs thing going on between, the Parks and the Kims. And then we realize, of course, that there's this whole other layer to it. And this is kind of the scene where the Kims decide, hey, we like it up here, even if we're just the servants of the Parks. And so we want to stay up here, even if it means having to hurt other people. And that's where I think the moral ambiguity in the movie comes in, which is so interesting because no one is like the good guy or the bad guy, really. And that last moment of her kicking the housekeeper down the stairs is such a like darkly comedic, great moment in the movie, and it's a thrilling sequence and an amazing movie.
And did you pick the exact same scene, or did you pick a different scene?
I did not. It was really close. I picked the moment, the scene where Moon Guang actually returns. It's when she rings the doorbell. It proceeds with them actually sitting down in front of the large window, and you compare it to their small window in their house. Everything's peaceful, everything looks good, and then the doorbell rings, and you see Moon Guang come back, and she's all disheveled, and that's the start of it. You realizing this movie is about to go down. You're like, okay, what the fuck is about to happen? Because this shit is crazy. And Scott mentioned it before, but the same thing where we're not supposed to talk about penning, but the scene where we finally get to see the basement of the basement. And it's a one shot of Miss Kim going down. And that to me was like the transition from this movie is cool to that whole scene of like, what the fuck is about to happen? What the fuck is about to happen? The shit's about to go down. And it kind of leads into what Scott was talking about. But it's really that transition to me of her coming in. And it's literally when you're from here watching the movie to, oh, okay, what's going on? That's the.
Okay. So I've said it numerous times on the show that I'm an uncultured swine. I don't watch a lot of foreign films. And honestly, I hate being in this community when this movie came out. So my theater would rather release God's Not Dead 17 than release Parasite. Okay? So I was after the hype of my really, really good friend Kaleb Koho going, best movie of the year, best movie, not even close, best movie I've ever. It's amazing. It's the best movie ever. Then I sit down and watch it in my home. I liked it a lot. I need to rewatch it. I personally would have went with Scott's pick because it's that scene when the whole thing goes down and I'm like, oh shit, like what happens? But I agree with Maru. Then shit really gets real with the next scene. I think this movie is honestly incredible. I just think it was overhyped so much that it ruined my watch of it. And I hate that. Like there's movies that I've totally disconnected from the show and everything and watch. I was going to watch it before here, but then I have to watch it with YLS glasses on basically and say, oh, does it suck? Does it not suck? I just want to watch it for fun. So once I lose in fandom, that's cool. I'm going to watch the stuff. So, again, but I think it's a correct choice because I think this movie will stand. It did so much. And I think these scenes are two incredible scenes from this movie that made me go, okay, I can get beyond that barrier of the subtitles. I can watch foreign films and enjoy them just as much as normal films. And that's something that I hated that I kept in my head for so long. So two people did not have Parasite. And then after they're done, I want you guys to kind of talk about like why that scene maybe you don't agree or you agree or you like it or what not. So go ahead, Kirk and Doug.
I've still only seen Parasite once in the theater.
Good for you.
So I wanted to put something on this. I knew there were scenes in this movie deserved to be on, but honestly, like if I would have put something on, it would have been when the big reveal of the basement and everything. But it really wasn't clear in my memory where the delineation of the scenes. So I couldn't put it on. A couple more rewatches on this. I'm sure this will have a couple scenes that would make this list.
I'm in the same boat as Kirk and Cody. I've only seen it once, and I saw it on my computer screen because that's the only way I could watch it.
That's sad. Yeah, it's one of the movies that I wish I could go back and watch in the theater. I think it would be incredible in the theater. Scott, did Amaro pick the wrong scene? Let him know. Tell him that way.
I mean, there's probably not a wrong scene to pick from this movie. I just think I like the decision versus the discovery, which I think is what we're talking about here. Because for me, this scene that I chose is more about the decision of like, hey, we actually like our maybe we're glorified servants, but we kind of like our pampered lifestyle to some extent up here upstairs more, and we're going to do whatever it takes to keep that, even if it means hurting people. Whereas like the discovery is like, oh wow, it's like the WTF moment of like, I had no idea that that's where this movie was going. But I don't know, just for me, it's more impactful the other scene. But again, amazing movie, so many great scenes.
Yeah, same here. I was actually, when going through it, I knew my run of scenes were from the discovery all the way up until that whole scene ends and they're in the clear. I just remember mostly I remember her at the doorbell. And I remember that being the part where I feel the sense of security for the family. And then it just flips on a dime when you see her face on the camera. And that was the one that stuck out to me to be, I like the switch from calm to oh shit and then already being in it and then continuing to oh shit. So I decided to go with the transition instead.
Okay. Kirk, I think we're on to you, right?
Okay, yep. We already did my number 7. That was the Creed fight. My number 6 is from Cabin in the Woods. And this is the scene where the elevator doors open. There are times in movies where they leave you wanting more. And, that's fine. But there are times in movies where they just give you more than you could even think to ask for. And that's what this movie does in this scene. They tease all the different monsters all through with the board and everything. And it's kind of like a gag throughout the movie. And then you think the big reveal is when they're going through and they're seeing all the cells with all the different creatures in them. And you're like, wow, that's awesome. And you think that's enough. But then you get them unleashed. And that moment where you just hear that ding and everything pours out. And you see like 50 different horror movies happening all at the same time and all these different like kills and all these different ways. And then they go through and then it happens again. Ding, there's another one and more come out. And they just show that big montage of, all these different monsters killing people in different ways, different creatures, different killers. And it's just a scene you can go back and watch and look at. Such a great homage to just the horror genre in general. Just like putting the cherry on top of the entire movie, because that's what this whole movie is. But just, there's ghosts and there's giant snakes and there's, the merman and all that stuff. And just seeing all those things is just so cool and so much fun. And this movie just lets you stuff your face with all this like horror movie goodness. And it just gives you more and more and more. And I love that so much. It's such a fun scene. It's one of the most fun scenes of the decade, I think.
Okay. So I've seen the scene. You just you did a really good job of making me not want to watch this horror goodness. So yeah, what does the fuck does that mean? No, that sounds terrifying. That sounds like I'm not sleeping tonight. So I've heard this movie's really good. It comes up on list. I'm trying to get better at horror movies. It's coming to fucking Fandom, so I have to get somewhat better. So, yeah, I sure. Sure, Kirk, I'll give you a pat. I don't know what the fuck it means in this type of the movie, but it's horror goodness. Whatever the hell that means. So I will let Doug go last. Why didn't you guys have the rest of you? Why didn't you have Cabin in the Woods?
I'll just quickly say I unfortunately have not seen this movie yet. It's been on my watch list for a while. I know I'm going to like it when I watch it. It sounds very much up my alley, but unfortunately I haven't gotten to it yet. So thank you for pushing it higher on the watch list, Kirk.
Also, sorry for spoiling it.
It's all right.
I mean, you didn't spoil the ending. It's all
Yes.
good.
That might have like pushed me to actually go watch it because I haven't seen it, and you have told me to go see this movie, and that scene alone, describing that was like, okay, I probably enjoy that a lot. I haven't seen it yet, so that's where I'm at as well.
We'll just do a giant scared watch along. Go ahead, Kirk.
Doug.
You're right. I probably should have had this on my list, but it slipped my mind. It really did. It slipped my mind. That's true. Yeah, 100%. No, but this is probably the correct scene. It's either this or maybe the scene where they're taking the bets are probably two of my favorite scenes. Where they're talking about the bets. No, you chose zombies. They chose zombies, tortured family. If you like meta horror, you'll love this movie. This is this decade's Scream, very much so, and it's enjoyable. Kirk, great pick.
Thank you. Everybody?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, my number 5 is another horror movie. This is a personal pick for me. It's Doctor Sleep.
Yikes!
Yeah,
I'm shocked. Okay, what's your next one?
My number 4. I apologize. I thought I had it higher on the list when Doug Jikes, but I probably should have talked about then. This is Django Unchained.
That's fine. You can talk about it now.
Okay, I went with the dinner scene. Okay,
safe, cool.
Yeah. This is, I mean, it's first of all Leo, just that legendary performance he gives. You know the story about him cutting his hand and keep going and everything. Trying to get that Oscar. So he's great in it, but it's such a great scene of just Tarantino doing that thing he does where he builds that tension, where it starts out and everything's calm and it just gets worse and you know it's coming and you don't want it to come, but it just builds and you're like, oh, maybe it won't, but it does. And just that scene where he's talking, he's sweet talking and brings out the skull, and all of a sudden he just explodes and everything goes to hell. And he brings Hildy out, and he's threatening her. And I like the dynamic where he just wants money. Like it would be like one thing if he just like this horrible, and he is a horrible character, obviously. But if he's just like, I'm just going to kill her. But he's like, you pay me, and this will. And as soon as he does, like, okay, who wants cake? So just such a horrifying, terrifying film, and Leo plays that character so well. Like he's just like this like pathetic redneck putting on that like air of civility, and that so much of that comes out in that scene. So yeah, it's my favorite. Another Tarantino movie that would have a lot of scenes on this list just missed the cutoff for the decade. This is my favorite Tarantino scene for the decade.
Go ahead.
Agreed. Pretty much everything Kirk said. Leo is so insane in this, all the way down to deal. Now let's go have some white cake. Yeah. It's completely tension-filled madness through the entire scene until you get that deal. Let's go have white cake, and you don't know what to think next. I think the scene. You mentioned Candyland, and people know what you're talking about for a Quentin Tarantino movie. That scene is insane to watch. They lift their hands from this table, shoot them. Like you're just on this whole tension-filled ride through the entire movie, through the entire scene.
Yeah. So one of those movies that could possibly put into like the Hall of Fame of like, let's stop talking about these movies at this point. But like, it's been brought up a ton. I honestly really do love this movie. Is it my favorite Tarantino? No, but this scene is still one of those that people still talk about, that still people think about. I don't know how it would have done if he didn't actually cut his hand. Would we still talk about it as much? Because I think that's like one of the greatest performances that you don't see him like move at all. Like he just keeps going and he gets more and more pissed off as it goes. But you're right. He just basically like give me more money. Okay, but they lied and deceived and just give me more and we'll fine. Fuck it. Basically. But no, that entire scene, like, this is like one of those scenes that I absolutely fucking hate Samuel L. Jackson. Like, he's an ass. Like, he's one of the most despicable characters in any movie at this point. And it's kind of like the scene, like, to determine, like, how they picked it all out. Like, they figured the shit out in the back. Like, no. And they're like, fuck. So, no, it's an incredible scene. I think it's one of his best acting performances. I think he's got a better acting performance of the decade, and I would put that in Wolf of Wall Street. Basically, him on the Quaaludes crawl into his fucking car. That takes skills, or he's been on Quaalude. One of the two. He does a really good job. He does a really good. Either he's fully committed acting towards it, or that's just skills beyond compare. What does everybody else think about Django and Change? Is this the correct scene?
I'll go a step further and say I think he has an even better performance in a Tarantino movie this decade because I like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood even more than this. But this movie is really good. And I love Tarantino. Yeah, well, I did put it in there for a reason. But no, I really like this movie. I really like this scene. You know, it's interesting talking about like his motivations. It's actually very similar to like Hans Landa in Inglourious Basterds because like he's not interested in like the killing Jews aspect of it. It's a business opportunity to him, and when a better opportunity comes along at the end, you know, he takes it. And so interesting parallel between the characters. But yeah, I actually like Samuel L. Jackson's performance the best because it's just like it flies totally in the face of what you'd expect this character to be. And so yeah, this is a great movie and a classic Tarantino scene.
It took me forever to watch this film, and I don't think I've watched it since. It is amazing. But I don't remember it that much because I've only really seen it once. And the people around me weren't really interested in seeing it as well because it was another slave movie. But it is a different slave movie. That's why I convinced people to go watch it. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that. There was nothing that was like really memorable because except maybe Jamie whipping the slave. The slave master. But other than that, it's just circumstances.
Okay, Cody and Adelaide agree. Oh, I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't want to agree with Spence.
No take backs.
And all shut up. And the reason why none of your picks have come up, Adelaide, because no one likes cats. Okay. What's your Mario? What's your 7?
So my number 7 is also one of my favorite movies ever. It actually might overtake Inception one day, but it is Blind Spot.
Yikes.
Okay. What's your next one?
So my number 6 was already talked about. Adonis Runs to Wake Rocky. My number 5 is from Raid Redemption. So Raid Redemption to me is one of the best action films ever created. And the fight between Mad Dog and the two brothers, Ram and Andy, it is the most badass thing I've ever seen in my life. It is the greatest fight scene I have ever seen in my life. Yahya Ruhan as Mad Dog, the build-up that they had for him, like how like just gangster he is, and for him to let Andy down and then to say, yo, move out the way, you go here, 2-on-1, and he proceeds to whoop an ass continuously till the end where there is a shard from a light in his neck and he still whooped both of their ass in one of the best choreographed scenes I've ever seen. Very few cuts, so you know it's all real. And just the fact that they build up this character so bad and he delivers against somebody like Iko Uwais, who is amazing. I think this fight is just incredibly memorable, and it only beats the fight from the sequel because it's 2-on-1 instead of 1-on-1. I love that scene.
The Raid and the Raid 2, like, basically are ones that I definitely need to rewatch. I've seen them once, and I loved both of them the first time watching them, but I need to revisit them. I think this is a fantastic choice. I think I would have picked this one over Raid 2, just because of how it's like. Yeah, I can't argue with you. I think 5 is a perfect spot for this. I think it should have been on people's list. I think if you've seen the Raid movies or you enjoy the Raid movies, this is like a perfect sum up of the decade of what the Raid was able to accomplish. And it pretty much out of nowhere. Like, I did not see the Raid coming. And when I saw it, I was like, that's insane. So what does everybody else think about Raid? And why didn't you have it on your list?
I've only seen the Raid 2.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I've never seen Redemption.
Yeah, sorry. I know I need to,
Sure.
but action just kind of not my genre always. But
Unless there's explosions and Tom Cruise.
unless
All
there's
right.
Tom Cruise, absolutely, yeah.
That's fair. What's your next one?
All right, and my number 4 is from Whiplash.
Yikes.
Yikes.
What? Whiplash is on this? What? That's crazy, guys. Let's not be on brand. All right, Doug, what's your 3?
All right.
I didn't even have Koho here, and we're still on brand. Good job, guys. Good job.
My 3 is Blind Spotting.
Okay. What's the scene?
I have the ending scene, the ending rap scene, the garage scene. This scene it's so compelling. You can see the heartache and the frustration and the anger within the character, and it's just it's stuck with me from the first time I watched it to like the 10th time I've seen this movie. It still sticks to me, and it's something that's so compelling. And Daveed Diggs is so good in this movie, and this scene just emphasizes it. And Raphael, I'm gonna butcher his last name, Cassel. Cassel. There you go.
How did you not know how to pronounce that?
I don't know. Listen, I think the two conflicting sides where Raphael, his character, is really like kind of scared of the whole situation, like it's about to go down, to the frustration that Daveed has, and it's just it's a haunting scene. If you haven't seen the movie, please go see the movie. It's a really important movie, and I think it's just something that sticks with you through the entire time that you're watching. And it just like the same way that other films kind of like need to be seen, this is one that needs to be seen the entire movie.
So for me, Blind Spotting was the best movie of 2018. I can argue that it's one of the best movies of the decade, period. But I wanted a scene that was more personal to me, and it was the boat scene. And the boat scene is where they just left a white lady building, buying a rundown home, who was definitely owned by a black family who could no longer afford the house because of raising rent prices. And there's a boat that they're trying to get rid of, and they're in the middle of Oakland trying to sell a boat. And the beautifulness of this scene is Raphael Cassel as Miles and his mouthpiece. Got that Doug for sailing, floating, fishing, or fucking. You're gonna flight to Boston in a private function, guaranteed to get you into something. Let me put you on that water world, bro. And if you're from Oakland, you understand what putting the woo out to a rear view is, getting 300 bills fast. And it is fucking amazing. And if you don't know, and if you didn't understand a word I just said, it's still amazing because he ends up, after the exchange with him and the guy who bought the boat, Alan goes to him and said, "What did he just say?" And Miles is like, "I have no idea, but I sold the boat." Because no matter what you're trying to tell people, they will listen as long as you make it sound pretty. And it's got bounce to it. And that, to me, epitomizes the entire movie, where this movie does gentrification, police brutality, race relations, and everything, but don't beat you over the head with it because they deliver it in what the studio promoted it as a comedy and as a digestible package that wasn't surface level. And that scene in the middle of that movie just encapsulates everything that movie actually was. It's that perfect balance between social commentary and hilariousness and Oakland and just I've been Colin with my friends who do dumb shit, but they're down for me all the time. That scene has that entire movie all in one, and I absolutely love it. Your pick is also a good pick, Doug. Any scene from that film is really an amazing thing. Love this one.
So I kicked off 2020 with I was doing 365 movies. Thank God COVID happened. I was able to hit. I already hit. My very first movie of the year was Blind Spot. It's not at the time of the year that I'm going to recycle and watch anything again, just because I have other things to watch. But I think Blind Spotting was incredible. It was a great way to kick off the year. It does a real good job of predicting the future of 2020 of and where we went. I prefer, because you said more personal for you, I do prefer the final scene in Blind Spotting. I think it's incredible. I was just like, whoo, this movie just hits, and that scene just hits really hard. Because, again, I always say, everybody says, like, act a certain way or, like, act with class or respect. I don't know, putting myself in that shoes and seeing that reaction and how I would handle it either, and going through what they go through. Like, I think it's just an incredible movie. It tells a lot. It's so relevant to today, honestly. So no issue with that. Again, I can't wait to rewatch it. What does everybody else think about Blind Spotting?
I guess I'm the Koho of this episode because I haven't seen this one either. So drink up, I guess.
Ooh, shots fired at Koho. I like it.
Oh, he knows it was what happened during the top 100.
Oh, that's true. He did say that a lot during Top 100. There you go. Hey, don't pull bullshit. Pull bullshit on yourself, Vikings fan. Kirk.
Yeah, I love this movie. It's fantastic. These are both great scenes. Doug's scene was probably my top 15. It was on my short list. It's just such a perfect conclusion to his arc and everything he's been through, and it just kind of everything he's learned in the movie up to this and everything he's experienced kind of just comes out in that song. And it'd be real easy for that to be something cheesy, just him, just like a freestyle rap. And I like how they build to that. Like, freestyle rapping isn't like his main thing in the movie. He's not like Eminem and 8 Mile or something, but he's there. It's sprinkled in where it makes sense for him to do it at the end. That's done so perfectly. And Ethan Embry is great in that scene. It's just a really, really powerful scene. I do also like Rue's pick. I think Miles is a great character. I love the fact that they were able to make this movie a comedy. Just making that decision, just with those themes, it just weaves the comedy and like the drama and the stuff you need to focus on so well. And that scene really does, like Rue said, kind of encapsulate everything this movie's about. In that, just make it acceptable, make it so people can take it and they'll listen to whatever you have to say. So both great picks and a really good movie.
All right, we're moving quite along. Go to Scott's 3.
Okay, so my top 3 somehow ended up being in the same year. I didn't plan it that way, but the year is 2018, and the first movie at number 3 is First Man. And I chose the moon landing. So this is actually probably my least favorite movie on the list of all of the top 10, all of the 10 movies that I have. I think that some of the just emotionally withdrawn. My friend and I have a term for these kinds of movies, an acronym, EWPIS, which stands for emotionally withdrawn people in space, which is kind of its own subgenre of movie. And this is definitely one of those movies until this scene happens, right? And then it just kind of hits you like a truck. I mean, this is top 5 most amazing scenes I've seen on a theater screen before. First of all, the score is top 2 scores of the decade for me. Justin Hurwitz, who did La La Land also, he uses the theremin, which creates this really eerie effect, but it's just an amazing score. And in particular, the song in this particular scene, it builds up really well. And then there's when they pan out to the shot of the moon, the surface of the moon, you see the surface for the first time, the music crescendos, and it's totally a spine tingling moment. And yeah, I don't know. It's just the emotion of just seeing that and appreciating this feat that humans accomplished is it really got to me. And I also love the way that they because all of the space travel scenes are really anxiety inducing and jarring you around and everything. And this scene is kind of the same way. But when they finally come to rest on the moon, it's you're looking out the side of the shuttle and it's like moving. All you see is like the shadow moving rapidly along the surface of the moon, and then the shadow just like comes to a stop, and that's how you know that they've successfully done it. So it's a very like subtle way to shoot that I like. And then there's the emotional payoff. I don't know if they really earn it of him like dropping the thing that his dead child gave to him and on the moon. I don't know if they really earned it, but this scene again is a technical masterpiece, I think. And, it did make me feel a lot just of appreciation for this thing that, these people actually did achieve. I hope no one out there disputes that claim, but.
Did they actually land on the moon or was the government's conspiracy? Okay. Scene's not movie. I think the scene's cool. I just don't love the movie at all, to be honest with you. I was very bored. I think the scene's pretty cool, but it's not one of my favorite scenes from that year. It's not my favorite scene from the decade. I'd put some that were on your list a little higher than this one. A little too high. I can see why, definitely why I made your list. It just isn't for me. Everybody else on First Man.
I've never seen it.
I was scrolling through when making my list. I was just scrolling through 2010's movies, and I kept coming to First Man. I'm like, it's been a while since I said there's probably a scene in here that should be on this list. But like I said, there weren't any fresh in my mind. But this is a good scene. It's shot really well. The thing that really sticks with me with this scene is how they show you like the inside of the cockpit. And you see like the details, like the old fashioned dials and everything. Mm-hmm. And you just think about like the garbage technology that they sent people to the moon on. Like it makes sense. Like if they sent somebody to the moon now, like with digital readout and touchscreens and stuff. But like they just had like old style like alarm clock dials for all the readings and everything. And that terrified me for some reason. Just like you shouldn't be doing this with that. You should wait a couple years. But yeah, it's a good scene.
Never seen First Man.
It's fair. Okay, Kirk, what's your 3?
My number 3 is from Roma.
Yikes.
Good.
Fucking kill me. Amaro.
So my number 3 is the yikes from earlier, Social Network.
Is this where it stops? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. My Social Network is 0.03%. That entire scene.
Good choice.
Okay, go ahead and talk about it.
So yeah, this basically for me is the Andrew Garfield show. And just every time they say he says it wasn't for the diluted shares, and going back to how many shares was his diluted, it wasn't, and it just builds and builds and builds, and it shows the sliminess of JT as Sean Parker, and it shows the complete aloofness and douchebaggery and everything of Zuckerberg and how Eisenberg plays him perfectly. But this is where Andrew Garfield shines, and just every threat and everything he does in this just hones in on Garfield himself. And he threatens him to go after everything. And I think my favorite part of it is when he fake punches Sean Parker and he says, I like standing next to you because it makes me look so tough. It's just the range of emotion he has in the deposition to the actual scene itself. I just think it's a masterclass of acting from Andrew Garfield in that scene. And I loved it.
Who else had it and where at?
I had
5. Yeah.
You both had it at 5? Okay, what's your scene, Doug?
My scene, same exact scene, yeah.
Okay, so what's you had the other scene, so Scott, do your scene and then you'll go back to.
Okay. I had the opening scene. First of all, great choice though. I love Eisenberg in the deposition of that part too. That's the only time you see him like feel anything in the entire movie is when they're reading out all of the percentages, and you just see like the look on his face is like, crap, maybe I actually did do something bad here. But the opening scene to me, like, okay, first of all, it's like Sorkin dialogue, like, it's so fun to listen to if you're a person who loves Sorkin, which I absolutely am. And so it's really fun to listen to. But at the same time, I think so much is set up in this initial, volley of dialogue about Mark Zuckerberg's character. Like, you get that he's obsessed with status. He's talking about how bad he wants to be in the final clubs, all of that. You get that he's like a misogynist, right? Because he's accusing Erica of like the only reason we got in here was because you used to sleep with the door guy, which is not true. But you know, he just in his brain, that's what makes sense to him. And he really just sees people as like means to an end throughout the entire movie. Like, you know, Sean, he's using him for his money, really, and what he can, the lifestyle he can give him. The Winklevoss twins, he uses them for their ideas. Eduardo, he uses him for his money, right, until he like gets Sean, and he can just like, you know, leave him behind. The friendship never meant anything to him, and I think all of that is set up in this very first scene, where, you know, again, you have this very fun exchange of dialogue too. Like her burn that she gets on him before she walks away is just like classic. But one other moment I love is when Sorkin kind of spoofs himself when she goes like, so it's just sometimes you know, you say two things at once and I don't know which one I'm supposed to focus on. Well, that's like so many Sorkin characters. Like that is such a defining thing of Sorkin dialogue. So I love that he is a little bit self-reflective there. But amazing scene.
Back to Doug.
Yeah, this the lawyer up asshole scene 0.03%. I didn't know what to call it exactly. I was like,
lawyer up asshole, correct?
Yeah.
I was like, it's this one.
I take that better. Definitely take that.
But no, this scene for me is so much embodied by everything involving the dialogue, the body language that you get from the three characters involved pretty much in the scene. Sean thinking he's a smartass, pulling up with the check, and then yes, Eduardo basically bitching that motherfucker out like he should have. The deposition scene where you see Mark's face and like the honesty of like, I fucked up. We're gonna end up paying him, but I fucked up. I lost a friend over this. To the music in the scene is like super like tense, kind of like it really, you feel tense during this whole argument, and you feel uncomfortable watching this argument like you're a part of The Office. Like this scene just like blows up, and it's an amazing scene.
Yeah, okay. So the best scene for me is lawyer up asshole. Because it's how I would handle things. So I can relate. The people that walk out of this movie and think Eisenberg's the best in this movie has always been confusing to me. It's Andrew Garfield for me every time. I think he's so underrated in this movie. I think he's incredible. But yeah, when he hears all the numbers, and you basically, I like how it all plays out where they're reading off the list and the verbiage afterwards, and the music starts to fade in, and like you hear like the blurring, and like he just like looks straight towards Eisenberg and looks towards and starts heading over that way, and they're like, oh, he's in the zone, he's coding, blah blah blah, and it's like, boom, you hear me now, asshole? Like he's like, whoa. He's like, no, and like it's just there. And that scene will always reign. I'm not coming back for 8%. I'm coming back for everything. You better lawyer up, asshole. It's literally why I think it's in our intro, I think, right, Koho? Or it was in our intro? Our outro. It's on our outro. Yeah. So like, I think the scene is absolutely incredible. I love the opening scene. Boatman describes it very perfectly. Like the opening scene can be its own movie, basically. Like that short bit could be its own like takeoff and movie on that part. But yeah, when he's fucking got tears in his eye and looks at Justin Timberlake's character and basically look, I like staying next to you. Makes me look big. And you're like, fucking let's go. The only thing would have been great is he punched him in the fucking face. Like, I would have just loved every second of it. It's like, it's not about the fucking chicken. It's not about like that. It's great. That movie is incredible. It stands the test of time. I still love that movie to this day. Kirk, why do you hate Good Things? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm not as into this movie as everybody else is. Saying it's crazy to think Eisenberg's the best thing in this. I think Eisenberg's the best thing in anything is weird to me.
Kirk just won the show.
But if I had to pick one, it would be Rue and Doug's pick, because I think to me Armie Hammer is the most underrated actor in this movie. He's fantastic in this, but Garfield's great. The opening scene, I feel Sorkin's great, but the weakness of his writing is in the hands of a wrong actor. I said this in the top 100. His dialogue can sound like it's being read, and Eisenberg always sounds like he's reading his dialogue. So, like, I feel like he could have just had a script in that first scene and been like this, reading along. That's the delivery on that. He killed that scene for me. But you know,
Koho's still in this chair, so that's good. You didn't make him fall out of it.
But yeah, so again, I mean, the movie's good, but I'm just not anywhere near anybody else's on it.
Okay. It's coming. Where the fuck are we? It's Doug too.
All right, so my number 2 is Dr. Sleep.
What'd you pick?
I picked the baseball kid's death scene.
And Kirk, what'd you pick?
I picked Danny's AA speech when he gets his chip.
Great scene.
Fight.
No, all right. I think Kirk picked a really good scene. I think my scene shows why the True Knot is a true ominous force. They take this kid who can't be more than 13 years old and literally devour him, like, and put his steam, as they call it steam. It's what The Shining is. For those that don't know, Dr. Sleep, for people that don't know, it's slowly becoming one of my favorite movies of all time. I've watched this thing numerous times. I don't know how to stop. I just thoroughly enjoy it. Kirk's scene's great. I really do like the scene, but Jacob Tremblay in this scene is phenomenal, and he's in it for 4 minutes total. And this is like the primarily crux of his character, and I just think it's a really haunting scene. It's truly what these people intend to do to Abra. I think that's why it's so imperative that you have Danny help her out and escape this whole thing, because you know what they can do to her and how vicious Rose the Hat is. So that's why I picked the scene.
Yeah, Doug's scene is great. I'm a big fan of Stephen King's writing. And if you read a lot of Stephen King novels, this is a hallmark of Stephen King. He does horrible things to children, and he does not let you look away. And that's what this scene is. It's awful and it's disgusting, but it's a fantastic scene. I went with Danny getting his AA chip. This is a very personal picture to me. First of all, what I love about Dr. Sleep is that it manages to be a sequel to the characters of the Stanley Kubrick movie, but it's a sequel to the story and the themes of the Stephen King novel, and it kind of blends those things together in a lot of different ways. But what I love this scene does is it kind of redeems the character of Jack Torrance from being the unleashed psychopath that he is in the movie to kind of the troubled, tortured, tragic character he is in the novel. And I love how they do that. They kind of like turn that on its head. But also it's very personal for me. Like I said, I've talked about on the show before about what The Shining means to me and how that's kind of been a family movie for me. It's one of the first movies I remember watching as a kid. I watched it with my siblings and we kind of bonded over it. And, eventually my entire family, this is something it's weird, but it is what it is. So I went and saw this actually with my 2 older sisters. I went and saw Dr. Sleep, and just having experienced in my personal life, my family, a lot of addiction, and having seen people supposed to succumb to it and overcome it. This scene was really powerful for me. It made me think about my mom who passed away a few years ago, and then I was sitting next to my sister watching it, who's over 10 years sober now. So kind of seeing our life reflected in our movie, or I guess our franchise now, was a really big deal for us. So, you can see why that's why that hit home for me.
So I'm going to pull an audible. Never done this before. Koho, tell them which scene is the best from Dr. Sleep, because I know nothing about this. Peace out.
Yo, all right. So Dr. Sleep, freaking great movie. Both of you guys picking excellent scenes from this movie. I watched The Shining for the first time right before I went to Dr. Sleep, so I basically double featured them. I liked Dr. Sleep more, but I had a lot of resonance with the AA chip scene. Just having it fresh right there, like to have that character performance. I take Baseball Kid. I've never sat in the theater and been more actively disgusted and terrified for my own self watching a movie like that. I think Flanagan is one of the best directors working today. Give him anything, because that Dr. Sleep work impressed the fuck out of me. I would love to see anything he makes. But yeah, I would take Doug's scene. If not, just my personal pick would be when they get back to the Overlook for the first time. The moment that they're like, we're going back sort of thing. And they literally take the shot from the beginning of The Shining, color grade it tonight, and put the score underneath it from the first movie as they go back to the Overlook is a terrifying feeling, because you feel so uneasy and so off-put that you're going back, but so excited that you're going back. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think both you guys picked excellent scenes. Tap back in.
Hi, guys. Amaru and Scott. I was away for a little bit. Don't know what happened. Talk about whatever movie they were talking about.
Recurring theme. Haven't seen it.
I really, really like this movie. I think The Shining is good. I think it's like, for me, it's not like top tier, but I was like a little bit like, I don't know about this movie, but I went to see it because it was out, and I was really impressed. Like, I agree with Kirk that I enjoy Stephen King's writing, and I think this movie feels so close to like the same feelings I get when I read his books a lot of times. I think it felt very authentic in that regard. I don't know what scene I would have picked. Probably something with Rebecca Ferguson, because I think she's fantastic. But yeah, this movie is, I was really impressed by this movie. And yeah, enjoyed it a lot.
I need to rewatch The Shining before I watch Dr. Sleep, to be honest with you. I know you don't have to, but I want to just for the sake of it. And I hear it's great, and we'll take it as that. But yeah, sorry. If they put Dr. Sleep in Fandom, I would have watched the 3-hour movie, but if it ain't Lord of the Rings, it ain't happening right now. All right. I don't know. Scott, what's your 2?
So my 2 is from what I think is one of the most underrated movies from this decade, and that is 2018's Searching. And I chose the opening scene from this movie. This is my favorite movie of 2018, one of my favorites from this decade. Like I said, I think it's incredibly underrated. It is a perfect example of how to do genre filmmaking right. And I think I had seen the trailers for this movie, and I thought, hey, okay, this looks like a gimmick. This is another unfriended whatever. The whole movie's on screens. It's going to be like a cool stunt. And then I went to see the movie, and this first scene happens, this first like 6 to 7 minute scene, and we get to the end of the scene, and I was like, whoa, so that's what kind of movie this is going to be. Because this just, again, like emotionally floors you without really any words at all. It is basically a digitized internet version of the famous sequence from Up with telling the story of Carl and his wife before she dies. But it is told on screens, right? That's the gimmick of the movie. But it is told in such clever ways. Like, I have never seen a movie where a calendar event getting moved around on like a Google Calendar is like, will just like rip your heart out. But that's exactly what this movie is, because it's, you learn that the wife had cancer through videos. You see like, hey, they have on the Google Calendar like she's scheduled for her chemo treatment. Then they have like she's scheduled to come home. Then they move it down 2 weeks, and then they move it to the trash. And like, what's happened, right? You don't have to explain it. You don't have to see anything. But you know exactly what happens. And it's just wonderful storytelling, and it sets the wonderful visual storytelling, and it sets the tone for the rest of the movie. Because I think what's so good is that this isn't just like a standalone sequence. This is the rest of the movie keeps you anchored to that emotional core of like, this guy has lost his wife, and he is trying not to lose his daughter, both literally and figuratively, over the course of this movie. And there are just little reminders throughout the movie. Like, again, I never thought I'd see a movie where a Norton antivirus update will like make you tear up, but that's exactly what happens in Searching. And I just think this is a brilliant movie from beginning to end. The best like genre thriller movie of the decade. Please check it out if you haven't seen it. And John Cho is a leading man. That is my last statement I will make.
It's been on my watch list for so long. And it probably would have been accomplished if Mark Menchaca didn't ask if we didn't team up. No, Searching. I've heard great things about Searching. I've also even somebody told me you can even watch it on I don't know, even a laptop and stuff. It would add to the experience. I don't know if that's actually true.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go that crazy, but that's what I was told. It is definitely on my watch list. It would probably be one of my reward movies. But yeah, I've heard only but great things about this movie, and I think I would like it. Paul will be the actual correct choice if I will or not. But what does everybody else think about Searching?
Searching's amazing. I just didn't think about it when I was going through the list. And very good analogy to Carl in Up, because I remember watching it and just being sad as hell. And it does set the tone. It pulled it off. Like you said it already, it pulled off something that people thought was a gimmick. Yeah. So love this film. Love that scene. Great picking.
I haven't seen it, but I have a question about the Up metaphor. Does that mean after the first couple of minutes, the rest of the film is completely mediocre?
No, that's actually the point I was trying to bring up, is that this whole thing pays off throughout the rest of the movie. But I understand.
Kirk wins.
But no, I haven't seen it because like Scott said, I thought it was the whole unfriended thing. But a lot of people have told me to see it. Scott did a great job of selling it. I'm adding it to my watch list now.
Kirk definitely wins. Doug?
I actually thoroughly enjoyed this. I've only seen it twice, so I want to watch it again. But you're definitely right. That opening scene is something that hits you right in the feels.
No, Nick, you lose forever. You think it's a great Pixar movie, and you're completely incorrect. All right, Kirk, what's your two?
My number two is from 12 Years a Slave. And it is Patsy's whipping scene, lashing scene. This movie is just so powerful, and it's filled with so many great performances. And this one in particular kind of just brings it all to a head. There's so much acting happening in this scene. Chiwetel Ejiofor, Michael Fassbender, Lupita Nyong'o. Another instance where an actress won an Oscar for just one scene and completely deserved it. What this movie does so well is show just the what the institution of slavery does to people who exist in that sphere. You watch the scene, and every single person involved has been completely divested of their humanity, be it of their own doing or just what's the life that's been forced upon them. But there's no actual human being in this scene. Everybody has just had that sucked right out of them. Fassbender is just a shell of a human being, and just his whole character throughout this whole movie is that. It just shows you just how pathetic these people were and how sad. Same with Sarah Paulson. She's just petty and jealous and gross, and just all of them going through that, and just the way the camera moves, just where it goes and who it's focused on and who's out of focus and who comes into focus is just so perfectly shot and so perfectly set up. And like I said, just Fassbender screaming, and Platt just having enough and just screaming at him at the end of them kind of fighting, and just Sarah Paulson just standing there watching it. And Lupita Nyong'o, at first you don't see it, she's far away, and then you see it from you're looking at her and watching her scream. You're seeing that blood spray, which is just so. Everything about this movie or this scene is just completely devastating, but it's just so well done, well shot, well acted, well written. Just a really, really powerful scene.
Peek behind the curtain. I've never been able to watch this movie. I haven't. That first scene, when he gets pretty much beat, it may be the acting, it may be the subject matter. It literally makes me sick to my stomach when he gets beat. It seems so real, and I have. Wow, that was about to be the dumbest statement ever. I just find my type of movies, my go-to movies are civil rights movies dealing with slavery and stuff, because one, I find it an important subject matter to still teach on and to watch about because of how dark our past honestly is. And that was just too hard for me to personally watch, watching it actually happen, because that's an acting performance. That's a performance that is acted, but all I can think about is real, like the real life situation of that person going through that, and the people that probably didn't make it through that situation to come out of it. I think it's incredible. I will watch it. I will sob probably most of the movie. That's normally what happens in those movies for me, like Glory, and the list goes on and on. So I will watch it. I just couldn't. I could definitely not. If I couldn't watch this movie by myself, I could not watch this before YLS. There's no chance in hell. Like it wouldn't be the greatest. It wouldn't be real for me to rate it without seeing it. But I hear amazing things for it. I think I'll like it. It's just that I've watched that exact scene 4 times trying to watch it. I turn it off every time. I just can't do it. What does everybody else think about 12 Years a Slave?
Yeah, I'm in your same boat. This is for me another slave movie that I don't need to see because I can understand through other people. I've seen enough. I just need to hear how great everybody's performance is. I stood up and applauded when Lupita won, but don't need to do it. So,
yeah, I think this is a really great movie. I totally understand that perspective. I had to watch it. I had to rewatch it last week or so for a Full Metal match, and I remembered how good it was when I did. And yeah, I get Lupita Nyong'o like giving her the Oscar and everything, even though I have like mixed feelings about like giving someone for one scene. But I just I don't understand how Chiwetel Ejiofor didn't get an Oscar for this movie because I think he's just absolutely unreal throughout the whole film. And yeah, I totally understand the perspective of people who don't want to watch it. I learned something from it, but I understand others aren't in the position where they need to learn anything else about this particular thing. So, yeah, I get it.
I have yet to see this movie. I'm in the same boat as Cody. Watching this movie is going to be very hard. Not to say it doesn't deserve a watch. It's something that you've got to sit down and be kind of like able to watch it, give it your full attention, and not turn it off. You have to watch it all the way through, and it's hard for some movies like this sometimes to watch, and I do eventually, but I have yet to see it, so I can't weigh in.
All right, Amara, what's your 2?
Another movie that took forever for me to watch, and I should have seen it a long time ago. But it's a scene from Moonlight. And it's the beach scene. There's a couple of beach scenes, but there's one extremely important beach scene. Black men are not allowed to be vulnerable. Black teenage men are 10 times worse if they are vulnerable. And this entire scene between Sharon and Kevin is something I see in my kids every day. Like my black male kids who need to be hard every day and can't show that vulnerability. And I'm like, you can do this. The fact that I can't remember if it's Chiron or Chiron, but the fact that he has to ask the question, have you cried before? And it's just the epitome of black men. Like they don't get to show that emotion, and it starts off with them having a conversation of them putting on the front, gotta be hard, let's smoke this blunt. But it's backdropped by the waves of the ocean continuously just going and going and going, and builds up to the sex scene between the two of them. And it's weird to say, but it was a beautiful thing to see as a black man, to be like, yes, this is something that can be shown, even if it doesn't need to be shown to that extreme. It needs to be shown because it is okay. And then you're brought back to reality. He wipes everything in the sand, and then they're in the car, and they do the handshake like nothing happened, and it's like you're back in the hood. This is life. This is life. Everything is going to be washed away by the waves because we can't show this. We can't bring this emotion. But the fact that they had that moment together in such a peaceful setting, it was beautiful to see, and I was in awe when I watched it. So I love this scene. It's a great movie as well. So.
Yeah. Somebody else. Did anybody else have Moonlight? No. Okay. Let me trigger Koho. It should have won over La La Land.
Yeah.
I honestly, I honestly like Moonlight a lot. I didn't think I would. I didn't think I would actually enjoy the movie when I saw it. But I really did. I think the scene you picked. There's a lot of scenes you could have picked from this movie, and I think a lot of them would have been correct. I honestly think like one of the best acting performances. Nate, I'm terrible with actor names. No, the mom, the one that plays the mom.
Naomi Harris.
Yeah, no, just her scene when she's in there and just like how well she does it is crazy. But yeah, I think you picked the correct scene. I rewatched it for this just to make sure that we were getting right. And there's a few beach scenes. So I'm just like, which one are we talking about? But no, I think I have no problem too. Maybe a little high for me, but it resonates with people differently. So I have no issue with that at all. What does everybody else think about Moonlight?
Yeah, fantastic movie. I hate that Moonlight versus La La Land has become a thing because I think they're both great movies in their own right. But yeah, I know. But I like that this was the one that won Best Picture because for some of the reasons that Rue mentioned, like about how important it is for representing not just groups of people, but certain behavior by groups of people. And I think I really appreciate the movie for that and the differing perspective that it offers for someone like me who would otherwise have no way to have a window into this sort of life, really. And so I think it's a very beautiful movie. I don't know what scene I would have gone with, but this is certainly not a bad pick.
Yeah, I really like Moonlight too. For me, though, what really resonated with me above everything else is the third part with the when he's an adult. I think the actor who played the adult version of him gave the best performance in the movie, hands down. I think he does the best stuff, and I think just seeing that final result of everything that came before. I think a lot of people were talking about the end scene. I think the scene where he goes to visit his mom, again, that's personally for me because I can really connect with that aspect of it. I would have went with something there, but yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in this movie.
I've only seen the movie once, so I didn't feel right to put it on my list because there's some stuff that I just don't remember about it. I just got to rewatch it.
Fair. Okay, Doug, what's your one?
Yeah, surprise, surprise. My one is from Whiplash.
What? No.
Y'all all had it at
Three of
once.
us had one.
Yeah.
Who all had it
Let's
at
see.
one?
I think Rue did too.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you all three have it at number one?
Oh no, Rue had.
I have it at 4.
Oh, okay.
And Scott, you don't have it?
I know it's cliche, but this was my number 11. But go ahead.
Oh, everybody take a drink. Okay, we'll just go real quick. Doug, what's your scene?
Not My Tempo.
Kirk?
Final scene, Caravan.
And Amara?
I Rushing or Dragging, which is also not my tempo.
Okay, so Doug and Amara, and then we'll go to Kirk just to round it.
All right, so this scene embodies this movie. This is the scene where you see Miles Teller break and how impactful J.K. Simmons' character is in this movie. How he's gonna mess with you the entire time because you're not doing it right. You do it right or you don't do it at all. Get off my stage. I think it shows. I think it shows how brutal of a character he is before actually realizing how brutal.
Nice word. Keep it.
Thanks. We hybrid words in my corner. But I think it shows you how brutally honest he is as a character, and it's not because he's particularly, picking on him, but he's picking on him at the same time. I think the scene is so well done. Good. You got it? Let's go. Stop. I think it's one of the most kind of heart pounding scenes. Is he going to get it? Is he not going to get it? And then he throws the music stand. Yeah, no, I'm 100%. This is my favorite scene from this movie.
Yeah, I was going between Rushing and Dragging and Final Scene, and for me, what put this one over for me is everything right before he throws the chair at his head. Because the whole movie, you see J.K. No, do Rowling, J.K. Simmons going off and yelling and going crazy, and you get that in the scene. But everything before that, where he tells him, "Try your best." And then you just slowly see him deteriorating. Not my tempo. You're rushing a little bit. And then just every time he stops again and again, you see him trying to hold it in, but you know it's coming. And I think it's that part right before he blows that really was like J.K. Simmons at his best. Because you see everything else the entire time, including in Caravan. But it's that little part right before that I'm just like, oh, it's coming. And I can see how much he is hating this right now and is bottling it in and is about to blow. And I love that specific part of it. So that's why I had it was my number 4, but that's why I had Not My Tempo, Rushing and Dragging over Caravan.
Yeah, this is great. I think you pick any scene J.K. Simmons in this movie as the best scene in the movie. He's fantastic. Another very well-deserved supporting Oscar win. I love your guys' scene. One of the most despicable things I've ever seen a character in a movie do is when he pulls him aside before the practice and he just like makes small talk. And he's like asks about his family, like, "Oh, what's your mom do? What's your dad do? You know, tell me about your parents." And then he's like, "No, what?" And, he throws against him. "No wonder mommy left you." That is just like the most horrible thing. I hate that so much. It makes me hate that character so much. It's so good. But yeah, I went with Caravan because everything builds up to that. Like I think Nick mentioned the scene in the bar, the conversation. Everything builds. It starts out with that, he's the whole like throwing and just the whole Charlie Parker, throwing the symbol at his head and everything, and what that's going to make you, and that whole idea of like what is it worth, like what is being the best worth. And it kind of he gets out there on the stage at the end, and I'm going to gouge your eyes out, like he's so furious at him. But then he's like okay, this is it, he's getting it. And that final look when he's like smiling, like, oh my god, did he plan this the whole time? And like you're excited because like, oh good, he was going to go win it, and then you just feel gross because you're like, oh my god, what did he have to go through? He destroyed this kid's life because he's going to be just completely inhuman and care nothing about drumming his whole life. And that the reason I picked this scene, because this scene, Rush Your Dragon, is an amazing scene. But this scene stayed with me like days. I thought about this scene for days after this movie, just going over my head and just trying to like deal with how I thought about it and what was right about it, what was wrong about it. And I still think about it sometimes, just everything happened to that scene. So much is going on between two of them with no words, just him, just okay, do it, and just that musicians, that silent communication between them. It's so fantastic. I love that scene.
Still confused how Vern Schillinger from Oz got a job at a school to teach music. Because I'm telling you, if you haven't seen Oz, that's who JK's playing. Just a heads up, a little bit less Nazi in him, okay? So, just a little bit. I think it's incredible. The reason why I laugh is because when that performance came out, everybody's like, JK, he's never done anything like this before. I'm like, did it for seasons before. I will still stand by, I think, Not My Tempo will be the scene that we look back on from this movie. Caravan's great. I think Caravan's a fantastic thing. But the moment that I saw him smack the shit out of Miles Teller for the first time, and I went, oh shit. Like, this movie's taking a turn. Like, and that yell, so you don't know the difference. And I'm like, fuck, okay. All right, time to go, buddy. And it was on from there. I think Caravan's great. I think this movie, I would be lying. I'd be lying to say if this movie hasn't been talked to fucking death in this community. No offense, everybody. I understand. But I can't deny we're talking scenes. If you didn't have one of the scenes, I'm confused by your list a little bit. But yeah, I think it's great. I honestly do. I think both are fine. But yeah, Not My Tempo will be one I look back on, and still that where he thinks of the Caravan thoughts for days. I thought of the scene of him smacking the shit and throwing the thing, and I'm like, fucking hell, because I know music teachers like that. To be honest with you, I don't know what it is about some music teachers, but they take their shit real serious, and I thought football coaches were psycho. Fucking mess up a beat, you'll find some angry people. Scott, question for you: why do you hate great things?
I don't. Like I said, this was my number.
You put
11.
First Man. I think you put the wrong movie from the director.
Well, I was going to say that I traded this one out for Everybody Wants Some. So look, I think that's a fair trade in Cody's eyes, at least.
Kirk,
but
you can't say anything.
No, the real reason I didn't include this was because I knew that other people were going to have it, and so I just wanted to put something in there that
you
was more
are just like Paul. Holy shit! That's the Paul strategy to a T.
Well, I wanted to have more of a sentimental pick, which was Everybody Wants Some for me. And so I put that one in there. But, no disrespect to this movie whatsoever. And I would have gone with Kirk for the record, even though he's reacting that way to Everybody Wants Some, because I think the ending scene, and the editing, is otherworldly good. So, I love the ending. It just sticks with me for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, we still have 2 ones to talk about, right? Amaro and Scott. So, Scott, what's your one?
It's not going to get any better for me from here, but my one is Roma, and I chose another beach scene. So this movie.
Do you want my scene before?
Yeah. What's your scene?
I went with the New Year's Eve fire.
Rug. Okay, continue. Both of them are, but it's fine. We'll talk about it in a second.
So this scene, this whole movie is just again, I keep using the word overwhelming, but that is how I feel when I watch the movie because of the craft on display in every single scene and shot. And it's inspiring to me that somebody can make a movie that is this personal to them, that is just about their own life, that is this meaningful to so many people, or at least to me, that something this specific can be this universal. But I think that this scene is amazing. So from a technical perspective, the way they follow her into the water, they follow Cleo into the water. They built a whole dock just so they could, do the scene so she could get out there. But also just for what the movie, I think, as a whole is about, there's something miraculous going on in this whole movie. The fact that these domestic workers like Cleo, who, give so much to the world and are given so little in return, the fact that they are just able to exist and endure, there's something almost fantastical and miraculous about that, I think, throughout the movie. And so it makes total sense to me that you're going to end it up with a scene that is almost literally a miracle, right? Because we know that she can't swim. And yet she is somehow able to go out here and get these kids and save them from the water. I think this is to save them from drowning. I also think this is a movie where so much goes wrong for her throughout the entire movie. She loses her child in childbirth. The husband leaves the family. You're expecting everything to just go as badly as possible, and then when she's able to save them in the end, it's just oh wow, you don't see it coming. And just that shot of them on the beach, or that's on the poster of them all hugging. There was that Twitter thread recently about what's a single shot from a film that can bring you to tears, and that's the one for me. It's so beautiful, and this movie is just one of the most masterfully constructed movies that I've seen from a directorial perspective. I think Alfonso Cuarón is so talented, and this is his magnum opus for a reason. Amazing movie and scene.
Pretty much every shot from Roma is a work of art. Somebody would have submitted a list with 10 scenes from Roma, I would have been fine with it, and it would have been completely acceptable. I went back and forth. I knew I was going to have a Roma scene. I went back and forth between the beach and the fire. It was really hard for me. The beach had the biggest emotional impact on me while I was watching the movie. I ended up, for the first time, I was waiting to see it in theater. It didn't work out. So the first time I saw this, I watched it on my phone. I sat there and wept staring at my phone during that beach scene, just because how beautiful that is, just how tense and just the emotion that comes out of that. I went and saw it in theater the next day because I was like, I got to see it on the screen. But that scene is fantastic. It might be the right pick, but I picked the fire scene because that's the scene I think of whenever I think about this movie. That's the first thing that comes to my mind is that fire scene, and I think it's just such a great example of the depth of the visuals in this movie. It's New Year's Eve. She's working the party, watching the kids, and there's a forest fire, and everybody has to go out and fight the fire. And it's rich, poor, it's chill, it's young and old. Everybody comes together to fight this fire. And there's just smoke and there's ash. There's ash like floating right in front of the screen, like obscuring your view. And then someone starts counting down for the new year while they're out there. And there's a character dressed in, I don't know the cultural significance, but he's dressed like in like this almost like this furry like Bigfoot type of costume. And while everybody's scrambling to fight the fire, he just wanders out in this costume, and he just gets closer to the camera. And he takes the mask off, and he starts singing. And I don't know what he's singing. Truth is, I don't want to know. But it's just such a beautiful shot from beginning to end. Just such a beautiful scene, and just so much to look at. Like I said, it is an actual work of art. Like I said, I'm assuming the beach scene is going to be the one that gets picked, and that's probably right. But this one for me is just the one I go back to and think about a lot when I think about this movie.
No, I'm prepared to lose some friends in the chat. Koho sent me both these. My response exactly was when to decide which one should be on was I don't give a fuck. So. If I want to watch a fucking beautiful painting, I'll go to an art museum. I want to fucking watch a movie that's a beautiful painting for fucking 2 hours. We give a lot of credit in this community of beautiful movies. I want fucking substance and stuff I can follow. I was so bored during this movie. To quote Josh McCouga, there's fucking dogs shitting on the thing. That's about the most exciting thing to happen. I am done with this. I was so bored. This was back before It's Not a Cody movie was invented. If I could go back and talk to Paul Oyama, he'd say, please stay the fuck away from Roma and let it live by itself. No, I've seen it. I ain't happy about it. And when people said this should have won Best Picture, my big ass about did a backflip and said, what the fuck do you mean? No way in hell should have won Best Picture.
Green Book superfan over here.
Yeah. Absolutely not. No, don't think that should have won Best Picture either.
Vice super.
All we hear is Radio Gaga.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm just kidding.
Was Queen's Live Aid concert nominated for Best Picture?
They could be moving pictures. I don't know. Technology is pretty fucking good, Lucas. You can make pictures move now. No, not a Cody movie. Don't even give a shit. I will never watch this movie again. I was bored to tears. To tears. But Scott, thank you for bringing culture. Kirk, thank you for bringing your weeping to your phone. I don't care. You two didn't have it, so you're in better good graces than the rest of them. Why didn't you put Roma? Because you were asleep? Your Netflix decided to crash? You didn't get a chance to watch it?
I couldn't make it past 10 minutes of this movie. I was so bored I had to turn it off. I'm sorry, guys. I just couldn't watch this movie. It bored me to fucking death. Cody sat through the movie. I was like, nope.
This right here is a single shot that can bring me to tears.
two watches. I broke it. It was a part 1 and part 2, and let me tell you, not a good part 1, part 2.
I never tried. I don't want to try. I'm sorry. I'm just not interested. I can imagine it's brilliant, but no. Sorry, no.
From the director of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Which is my favorite Harry Potter film ever, and it's amazing. I saw it a couple days ago, but I'll go watch that again before I watch Roma.
Go back and direct Fantastic Beasts 3. Let's get a better film.
Oh, God. No.
Please. Please.
You better have the fucking time turner so we don't have the first two. Amaro, what is your number one?
My number one is Get Out, The Sunken Place. This film, this scene, this film is amazing. This scene is not a movie scene. It is a piece of culture. It is now vernacular in my everyday language. This will be a part of my life for the rest of my life. Someone being in the sunken place. That's how impactful this scene has been to the lives of millions of people. Period. And on top of that, it is an amazing scene. Daniel Kaluuya does a tier that is worthy of Denzel Washington. His acting is amazing in this. But what really just does it is the sound. The score that from jump with the use of Redbone at the beginning of the film to the score he uses when he's in second place of just the orchestral singing and the teaspoon just continuously going on the teacup, and it's just scraping and scraping. And Catherine Keener is so creepy, and she just said, "Yes, I said Denzel Washington." The tier and the glory tier, they can go side by side. That will be imagery. That will be imagery. I'm sorry, it will be imagery that I will see for the rest of my life. That image right there will be amongst one of the best scenes, one of the best pictures in film. Again, it could be my culture, but one of the iconic pictures in film is Daniel Kaluuya and him crying and going into the second place. But it's that important. It's that big of a scene, and I had nothing going over this, just from how culturally impressive it is, impactful it is, but how see, I didn't say the acting, I said the tier. Make that very clear. Just how great, how well put together the scene is for that. I love this scene, and it means everything to a lot of people, including myself.
You're doing really well. And then you mentioned I'll strike that from the record of the Denzel tier. That's my man Denzel. We don't he's immortalized.
Immortal. He very much is.
We don't bring him up in the conversation with anybody else because there's him and then everybody else is playing along. Okay. So no, I think you chose a fantastic choice, honestly. I am not a horror fan. I have no desire to watch horror movies anytime. This movie came out, and it killed me watching it. I thought this movie was incredible. I've seen it. People say it's overrated. Whatever. They can say what they like. Me, I have no because it. To be fair, it did get blown pretty high. Like people were saying, Best Picture, and I probably wouldn't have went that far, but I think it needed to be in that conversation. I think it was that good. This movie was that great. Yeah, and The Sunken Place was one of those, like, it made me so uncomfortable. This movie made me so uncomfortable. And the fact is, like, I'm trying to say this the best way possible. I don't struggle with race every day, honestly. Like I have the benefit of not having to deal with that. But to see that brought to screen and just to realize like what that movie was able to tell and describe. Now I haven't seen Us. I didn't watch anything beyond that. But I think this movie is just, it will stand the test of time. I think it's honestly one of those great thrillers. Horror movies for some. I think thrilling is one of those things I would describe, and I think it's a great choice for number one. I have no problem with that being the number one scene for your list. Everybody else, didn't no one else had Get Out, so I'm just curious. What do you guys think about Get
Out? Get Out was a victim of its own hype for me. I waited a little too long to see it, and I was hearing Best Picture and Greatest Horror Movie Ever, and I think that kind of impacted my appreciation of it. It's good. And I think this is probably one of the best scenes in it as far as just like the horror aspect of it. But I had some other horror movies on my list that just I thought were a little better. It had more of an impact for me, so that's why I didn't have it on my list.
Yeah, I love this movie. I'm glad it made someone's list because it is just one of those defining movies from the decade for sure. And I think that I love that it showed that genre films, that genre movies can be more than that, right? Should be viewed just as importantly, honestly, as, the type of Academy fare that they usually look at, because I think horror movies, comedies, other, genre fare is typically ignored by the Academy. And that's a shame because sometimes it's even harder to do like a movie like this, or like a movie that can please everyone, that is, a crowd pleaser, than it is to make something that is for a, narrow audience. And so I love that this movie got Academy attention. It was part of the zeitgeist. People still talking about it. It's influenced film, even over the past couple of years, despite not being like the typical Oscar prestige type movie that you expect to see. So I really appreciate what this movie did in addition to what this movie is.
This movie is fantastic. Anybody that says it's overrated, you don't know what you're talking about. It's a directorial debut from someone who's known as comedy and brought something so important to the narrative. I would have probably, in my watching the film, my favorite scene in that is the conversation scene at the end when he gets out, the chair scene, where he has to listen. Oh, this is what's going to happen, and he develops the plan. You see him, just his brain working, and he doesn't say much in the scene, but it's like, and then he just like basically breaks out of the chair. It's phenomenal. I love that scene. But no, Sunken Place scene is a great scene too. I think the entire movie is great.
If I didn't pick the Sunken Place, I would have picked the point where Rod opens the door and you see TSA and everybody in the theater just starts clapping. That's second place. Very close second place. TS motherfucking A. Loved it.
Okay.
I will say that the scene leading up to that with when you see the lights, you don't know who it is. That's the most terrifying part of the movie.
Yes.
All right. So we made it. Let's do the combined list real quick. And then I'll give out grades. Combined overall is, we have Moonlight at 10, Parasite at 9, Creed at 8, Get Out at 7, Blind Spotting at 6, Django Unchained at 5, 4 is Dr. Sleep, 3 is a movie, 2 is a Social Network, 1 is Whiplash. The winner of this list for first time winner, Amaro Moses wins. First one, Amaro gets A- for me. I honestly think he killed it from start to finish. May have picked the wrong Blind Spotting scene, still had Blind Spotting. Pick Moonlight, maybe a little high for me, but everything else was quality from start to finish. So A-, well done. Second place is going to go, this is going to be weird, Doug. Doug's going to get second place tonight. He put the wrong film. He put one from 2006, but we'll give him a pass on that. And Waves, I haven't seen it, but I think overall he had the best going forward. I would give him a B-. The next is Kirk Kowalkowski, C+. I think Scott expected this. I don't know. He won't be too upset. 10 is Hell or High Water. Cabin in the Woods didn't see. Dr. Sleep didn't see. But Django movie. You had it at 3, so that's what saved you from not getting last. And last is Scott, C-. And honestly, I wouldn't say that his list was bad by any saying. I think The First Man was too high. Searching, I haven't seen. 1917, haven't seen in a while. Interstellar, those were the bad sides. But I think overall he had a great list. It's just some of those were just not my cup of tea. Just real quick, I'm just going to spring this on Koho because he has no idea what's coming. This is going to be fun. I'll get yelled at later. November, I'm doing something fun. So after our top 40, I'm going to do something fun. I'm going to let a viewer, before we go into top 100 and before we go on our break, I'm going to let the viewers of Multiplex decide what Eurolist Sucks is doing. We're going to open into the polls. We're going to let them do a free-for-all. We're going to let them see. We'll also have veto power because, honestly, some of you guys are idiots. No offense to yourself. I got to save you from yourselves. But we're going to have some fun. I may even put, like, a special guest host on there, too, to see who you guys want to have host. Let's have some fun before the end of the year. I have some fun topics that I want to do. We'll create the poll. It's not going to be an open poll because I'm not doing M-ranked episodes and shit like that. So, sorry, not happening. Next week, this should be a fucking doozy. Best music rules represented by one song with Kaleb Koho. I'm on the panel with Barr, Holtzman, Spence, and is that it? Myself? Did I just lag out? I'm freezing.
No, you're good.
I was freezing on my screen. It was weird. I may just leave the channel altogether after that. That's going to be rough. Top 40 comic book scenes. Please, if this one does well, if people like it, if people show up, that's not guilt tripping you into showing up to the show. But if it does well, we will continue to do these. This is Robert Parker, Nicholas Tuig, Thomas Scully, and Nick Carley. Believe me, you want to be in that chat because I will call you out and let you give them as much shit as I will give them, because some of these, oof. I want to thank Kamaru. I want to thank Scott. I want to thank Doug. And I want to thank Kirk for being on. Again, guys, if you want to be on a future episode, please submit your list. Top 100s will be coming back next year. It will be in March and in the fall. We'll do 2. You have to submit your list. They won't be due till the end of January, so you have some time to come up with a list. But you have to be committed. And the big dog down there, Kirk Kowalkowski, is going to be in the judge's chair, and I'm going to be on the panel. So this should be not fun for me, or really fun for me, because me and Kirk saw eye to eye on top 100. So who knows what will happen? But again, thanks everybody for showing back up. Next week it will be a doozy, and I won't get my show back again. So see you next week.
My God, what just happened?
You better lawyer up, asshole, because I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything.
Get what you fucking deserve!
Turn to your lady friend. Duncan, please return to your lady friend.
Long live the king.
Hasta la vista, baby.